All right, so I want to tackle three different Punisher issues, although they aren't none of them are Punisher per se. They're other series. First one I want to talk about is Giant Size Spider-Man number 4, which was relabeled Giant Size Spider-Man and the Punisher. In this, Spider-Man and the Punisher they take on this terrorist organization that is kidnapping people, taking them to a third world country, and testing chemical weapons on them. There's not a lot to say about this one other than this is the first appearance of the War Journal logs. For those of you who don't know, Punisher keeps a war journal. He dictates into these audio recorders his battle reports on his war against crime. And this is the first time we see this. And this is a staple that would carry on for years. I think they even still did it back before he became the king of the killers. Like, it lasted forever. In fact, we even got a spin-off Punisher comic series called War Journal, which really focused on that aspect of the Punisher. But I really like this issue because it really brings out the violence of the Punisher at a time when Marvel was pretty squeamish about having violence like that. It's violent, people get melted, which is kind of cool to look at. And it's well worth your time. It's probably the first one of these in this Back to the War omnibus that I honestly liked quite a bit. And it's one of the few times Spider-Man's like, hey, you can just kill people. Like, I'm not going to kill people, but I'm not going to stop you from doing it. And so he does kill some people. So the next issue is from Marvel Preview number 2. And this is a Punisher story where he's taking down these rich elite people that are trying to make their own Punishers, basically, and to control them. It feels like a precursor to what's going to happen. This is a storyline. I do believe Circle of Blood follows a similar process. It's got things changed a bit, but this is like the precursor to that. And this is the first time we see the Punisher's origins of what happened to his family. So that's interesting in and of itself. It's in black and white, which the next issue will also be in black and white. Feels kind of noir-esque with that, and it's so they can have more violence and blood and stuff, and there won't necessarily be censorship so much because it's not colored. So I really like this issue. I give it a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next issue I also really like, and that is Marvel Super Action number 1. This is another Punisher story that deals with his origins once again. He meets up with an escort, for lack of a better term, and she recognizes him as the Punisher. And it's set up like he's venting to her what happened after the events of his family's murder and the injustice that happened and the lengths he took to get rid of the gangsters that killed his family. There is a twist. I will not spoil it. You can kind of see it coming. But still, it's pretty good. Now, I want to mention something about these two, the Marvel Preview and Marvel Super Action. Punisher feels like Mac Bolan, the Executioner, because he's basically a ripoff of them. I wouldn't quite put it on a level of how Batman is blatant plagiarism of the Shadow, but I would say it's kind of shocking, especially in these early issues, how he acts like the way he talks and stuff. Like, he talks like Mac Bolan. And it's a far cry from where we would end up with Punisher, especially after 9/11, where, like, Garth Ennis, Punisher doesn't necessarily talk a whole lot unless it's his monologuing, like, kind of for the War Journal. And then, like, Greg Rucka's run of Punisher, I once watched a review where someone said he's like the boogeyman. Like, he doesn't talk, he's just there. And I couldn't agree more with that. And that's what the Punisher ended up becoming. But now he has his one-liners. He's kind of an action hero, but a very violent one. And he feels a lot like Mac Bolan in a lot of ways. So, what would I rank this super action? Probably give it a 4.8. It's really good. It's the best of the three of these, despite seeing the twist a mile away. Sometimes when you have something like that where it's like, oh, it's a twist, and you see it, it can still be satisfying, and I wouldn't take points away from it necessarily. It just depends on the story, I guess. So, anyway, that's all I have for today.